Good afternoon. My name is Sean Cavanaugh. I do technical marketing for Ansible. And today we'll be discussing Automation Hub, or where you can host your Ansible content anywhere. So let's go ahead and get started. So I think before we talk about Automation Hub or Private Automation Hub, we need to talk about content. And what is content to Ansible? And what we consider content is the form of a collection. So you'll hear that word a lot, and I wanted to cover that really quickly so that everyone was on the same page. It's still possible not to use collections with Ansible 2.9 and 2.10, so it's really easy to maybe have missed this concept of collections. So collections are just a standard way we define the structure for content. And content within a collection can be playbooks, it can be roles, it can be modules, it can be various plugins. And it's just literally a directory structure where we all agree that this is the playbooks go in the playbooks directory and the roles go in the roles directory, and it looks like this. We require the same standard of documentation in a collection that we do for the Ansible project. So I always think of documentation as one of our secret weapons for Ansible with adoption and making it easy to use for folks. Not only do we have that kind of Ansible docs commands, but just Googling docs.ansible.com, you can find anything. So we want to make sure when we start separating content up that documentation is also really good and really easy to browse. So for Automation Hub, we actually require documentation for every single role, every single module, every single plugin, or it won't get accepted, and it's actually tested every time it comes inbound. And then again, if you want to create a collection, it's fairly easy. I'm going to show that in a demonstration, but the scaffolding can be created with the Ansible Galaxy command, where it actually creates a subset of these folders and kind of creates that file for you. So you can see kind of what a Galaxy YAML file looks like and what to fill out, so you don't have to create it from scratch. So with Ansible 2.9, we made content collections, and this content is now modular, meaning that we can do asynchronous uploads of content onto your platform installation. So that content can be updated whenever you want. And I'm going to kind of hammer on that for a few slides just to make sure that makes sense to everyone. But just think Ansible collections are modular, meaning I can load content whenever I want. So to kind of take this home, this was a slide I was trying to visualize this, and this will not be the final slide, but I left it in here because it made me laugh, because when I started drawing this out with the community colors, I basically got the Mexican flag. A little bit more modern looking maybe than the original Mexican flag, but it's pretty cool looking. So think if we have a major release of the platform release 1.1, for example. What I used to have to do in the past is I had to wait till the next major release to get content. Everything was bundled together. When I installed Ansible, I got everything in there. Now, what if there's a bug? What if there's a feature that comes out? This didn't leave our customers a lot of wiggle room, is that they either had to wait, and who knows how long this time was between releases. And actually what we're targeting right now is only like 2 releases a year for the platform releases. So that causes a problem because I have to wait, or I can move into like development branches, but then I'm unsupported. So now I can download from Automation Hub asynchronously midway through a release cycle. And I could do this as many times as I want. So if there's a bug or feature, or there's like a new release of some new network gear that happens sometime between these 2 releases, now I can load new content in there. So where is the content? We have the upstream Ansible Galaxy and the downstream Ansible Automation Hub. And the way I like to equate this and explain it to people that are unfamiliar with Galaxy and Automation Hub is that people are usually familiar with Red Hat Enterprise Linux and the upstream Fedora. The product, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, is fully supported. It's not moving as fast, so we got to make sure everyone has like a stable upgrade path. And the upstream is Fedora, where it's moving really quickly. It may not be stable, but it's unsupported. And obviously, based on the name Enterprise Linux, that's where we support the product, where it's stable and it's fully supported, tested, tried, certified, right? So Galaxy and Automation Hub work the same way. Is Ansible Galaxy is the upstream. It is community. It doesn't really have much curation. There's ratings and community ratings, but it's not as easy to tell what is the official content. Where Automation Hub, this is what we certify and support. And it doesn't mean we block folks from Ansible Galaxy. In fact, quite the opposite is we want Galaxy to get better, and we've extended capabilities in Galaxy to support collections. But Automation Hub allows us just to curate and control which content's like the official content. So in my opinion, we have the best of both worlds, is a downstream supported experience with an upstream fast moving, like get new features really quickly. So I also wanted to draw this out because I think this makes it really simple to understand to folks that might be unfamiliar with Ansible. So let's say you're new to Ansible, but you wanted to learn about collections. Is think of content for us is collections, which could be playbooks, right? It's very simple. But this is very similar to how your phone works. So if I have an iPhone, I don't upgrade my iPhone to get the latest Facebook app. I just install the Facebook app. If I want to get the latest Twitch app or the latest Hulu app to stream, I get that from my respective phone application store. So that's their content, and content is asynchronous, meaning they can download apps as fast as they want to, as many apps as they want, and digest as fast as they possibly can, depending on, I guess, what they can afford and how much storage they have on those devices. So we're just doing the same exact idea. It's not crazy new, but this is just something that makes sense as Ansible automation scales out. We want our folks, our customers, the community to be able to scale out and get applications asynchronously as well. And this just makes sense, right? It's not super inventive, but it took a lot of time, I think, in the last 2 years to get everyone to agree on those formats. And now we're kind of moving forward, and you're seeing a lot of adoption. In fact, we see 60 different collections already in Automation Hub, and you should recognize at least a couple of the vendors here. I'm sure you use them within your own IT infrastructure. And you can see, like, we got our Cisco's, we got our public cloud like Azure and Google Cloud in here. You got your IBM's, your Nginx, which is now part of F5. You got your storage, like NetApp and Pure Storage, and the list goes on and on and on. This is just a subset. In fact, I don't think I've updated this slide in a while because it's constantly getting new stuff. For example, with the release of the Ansible Platform 1.2, which happened on November 19th, we actually started fully supporting a VMware collection, a Red Hat OpenShift collection, so you can use Ansible to configure and modify and get info from things on OpenShift, and an upstream Kubernetes collection. So we've actually added a bunch of more certified collections even since last week, right? So it's constantly moving. So this leads to the next cool thing that was also announced as part of the release for 1.2, the platform release, is we now have available Private Automation Hub. Private Automation Hub is a self-hosted, you can host it on premises or in a public cloud or private cloud, wherever you want to put it. You just put it on your own infrastructure. And Private Automation Hubs allows you to curate and control content distribution between your Ansible platform clusters. So we talked about downstream supported content, and we talked about community upstream content where it's not supported, but it's just shareable and you could get ideas from it or use it verbatim if you want to. But we didn't talk about this other kind of persona, which is I'm at an organization or enterprise and I want to share content between teams. So right now it's just labeled private content. It's content that I want to keep private to my organization, team, whatever it happens to be, your company, a group of individuals. This private content doesn't need to be upstream to Galaxy. It doesn't need to go on the internet, but you want a way to easily kind of organize and control that content within your organization. So Private Automation Hub allows us to sync to all three of these contents. I can publish my own private content. I can publish or republish Automation Hub, and I can lock in a specific collection version that I've tested within my organization. And I could even pick and choose a community collection if there's not a good alternative that I've tested within house. And then I can sync my platform clusters to the Private Automation Hub. So think platform clusters. We previously referred to this as the term tower. The tower word's not really deprecated yet, but you'll see a lot of folks within the management business unit at Red Hat, we're starting to get away from that term tower just because tower is a mix of things. So right now, for lack of a better word to replace that concept of where automation's happening, is I just call it an Ansible platform cluster. Just didn't want to scare anyone there. It's the same exact experience you're used to today. It's not very hard. And then obviously that automates all the stuff we know and love: network, storage, security, non-container infrastructure, container infrastructure, and like this kind of what I like to talk about, automating operational tasks, or just like automating boring stuff that I don't want to do, right? Inevitably, one of the questions that I will get is about air gaps. What do I do if I'm in a secure SCIF or government facility or et cetera, finance, and I can't sync? So collections are actually really easy. They're really transportable. It's actually a tar file. It's very simple. You could literally put this on a USB drive, CD-ROM, storage somewhere, and bring it and get it like scanned and bring it to that Private Automation Hub installation, or do it ahead of time and sync Private Automation Hub and then bring that over to a secure facility. It's really up to the kind of organizational policies that you have there and what you want to sign up for. Obviously, content that we provide is all open source, and you can look through all of the code and look through all the playbooks, and it's very simple to scan. There would be very hard for us to hide something in there, and obviously we're supporting it in all our T's and C's. But it's not hard. This would be very similar if you're a Red Hat customer to the Satellite experience, where Satellite's acting as the content kind of distribution for Linux packaging. We're acting like the content distribution in there. So it could be intermittent internet access. It could never have internet access, but it's still got to get the content at one point. There's even been talks of how we could package some of the content in content packs. That still hasn't been decided yet, but imagine that there's probably going to be some way to download a lot of supported content. But this is super trivial. I would not stress out about air-gapped environments, and that's a huge point of Private Automation Hub, is to make it really easy within kind of secure facilities to have a way to access supported content and distribute it between all your different DMZs and places. We're going to log into Private Automation Hub in a second. This is what the login window looks like. I'm going to move to the next slide. I want to talk about how you get Private Automation Hub. And I put a short URL at the bottom here, red.ht/get_Ansible. So Red Hat/get Ansible without the A in that hat. And there's basically we call it the platform installer. So this is the same installer you would have used if you were used to the past experience with Tower, is we just call this the platform installer. And it installs all the components. Now, where Tower or the platform cluster is installed needs to be a separate host from where Private Automation Hub is installed, but it's the same familiar experience that you're used to, where you fill out a playbook, and then that playbook inventory INI file will just install Private Automation Hub to where you specified it. So it's very familiar to anyone that's installed Ansible Tower in the past, is now you can install the platform cluster and Private Automation Hub the same exact way. In fact, this is what an INI file looks like. This is one that Colin used in a video. So you would have an Automation Hub group here on line 4, very similar to what you would have had already if you've ever installed Tower on line 1. And you see there's a new configuration section starting on line 20 here, Automation Hub configuration. And then you would fill in your password and what other information you need. Now, I'm not going to waste a ton of time on installation for this talk. And I also know I think I'm the last talk of the day. So what I've provided here is a video, a walkthrough from Colin McNaughton, my counterpart, who did a little like 3-4 minute video on how to do the installation. And it's red.ht/Ansible_walkthrough. And I'll go ahead and I'll paste that in the chat room as well, so you can just click on it and put it in your bookmarks. But I tried to make this super simple. And that walkthrough is a YouTube video, so there's no reg wall or paywall. It's just right on YouTube and super easy to access. Okay, so let's do a demo. I'm going to log into the Private Automation Hub. And you can see here I'm just the administrator, but you can set your username, password, first, last name. So you can do some minor RBAC on release. And content is divided into 3 categories: published, certified, and community. Published refers to private content that you've published within your domain, your enterprise, your organization. Certified content refers to stuff that we've synced from Automation Hub that's supported and certified by Red Hat. And community is content that we've synced from Ansible Galaxy that's upstream community content. All right, so let's click on collections and see what's in there. So it looks like my colleague Roland has a test collection. There's nothing within the certified, and there's nothing within community. So we only have one test collection. So in here we have namespaces. I'm going to go ahead and create a namespace. So I guess it's November, but this will air in December. So let's put December. And you'll see right here there's some minor error checking. So within this tool, it's mad because I just used a capital letter. So it needs to make sure that the collection is a lowercase without dashes. So I've created December, and I'm gonna go ahead, this namespace is December. I'm gonna go ahead and upload a collection in there. So there's one I created called Hello Collection that I've used on YouTube before. But look, it actually errors out and it says this collection does not match the namespace. So every piece of content in a collection has a namespace, and then it has the collection name. So a namespace can have multiple collections. So what I need to do is create a namespace that matches what I actually published. I could also do the opposite. I could go change the Galaxy on my local machine and upload it. But you can see it's really easy. It literally is letting me use the file browser on my Mac OS device, and I upload that collection. And then it's going to start testing that collection and kind of unpacking it into the private automation hub. So it's literally going to go through every module, every role, and then test that and check for metadata readmes, and then it's going to actually publish the readmes and turn it into HTML so that we can actually browse that within our private automation hub. So now when I go back into my published, or what's technically the content that I own, you'll see that it's not there. I just have that test collection role and made. So if I go down to the approval dashboard, I'll see that it's in my queue to approve. And I have the option to view the import logs, reject it, or approve it based on what I think needs to happen as administrator for content within my organization. As soon as I approve it, nothing shows up there, and I can shift over to the collections and whoa, there it is, Hello Collection. And it's part of the video demo namespace that I created to make that YouTube video. So what's really cool here is it gives you the command to install it. So you just point your machine with an Ansible CFG file to this instead of Galaxy, which is the default. But it also created documentation in here. So it's creating a dynamically built website based on the README files within the collection. So here, each role I have has a very simple example of how it works. So there's a master README, there's a README per role to allow it to be uploaded. And you can also sort contents by this contents tab. I only have 3 things in there, so there's not a ton. And you can always look back at that import log to see what tests were run and links across that material. Okay, so we showed how to upload a manual collection, but I also want to show how we can actually go and sync content with Automation Hub, because I think that's really cool, where we can grab content from partners and Red Hat directly rather than having to make all our own private content. So repo management, remotes. So we have 2 remotes. We have community, right, which is Ansible Galaxy. We can see it under edit. And the requirements file of what you actually want to have, which is really cool. So you can basically sync just a specific collection from it. Or we can go to Red Hat Certified and we can click edit here. And we can see that this is cloud.redhat.com. And it's talking to the API for our cloud platform. And I can just put a token in here and then sync that. Sure. And once we put that in, we're going to sync. So we'll let that run, and through the magic of editing, I will fast forward. Okay, awesome. It's now complete. Let's go and look at collections. So you can see at top left it says published, so I only see my 2 private collections, private to me, right? Red Hat Certified now has all the collections synced from Automation Hub. So this is the same experience that you would have if you went to cloud.redhat.com and went to Automation Hub, is now we've synced all that content. So I can browse in here, and when it synced that content, now I'm hosting the documentation. So I can actually see every module parameter of the exact collection that I have available for my towers to use now on my Ansible platform clusters. It has the code snippets and examples of the code snippets, and it has the return values. So the documentation for module specific information is in the collection and shared through Private Automation Hub. All right, for the final part of this demonstration, I know I'm last of the day and I'm gonna try to keep everyone entertained as much as I can, because I'm also beat and recording on a Friday. But I want to hook up Tower to this Private Automation Hub. And granted, both of these are running in public cloud. Technically, I'm running these in AWS right now. So they don't have to be on premise from that like old school implementation of it. They're just self-hosted. So I need the API token. So I'm gonna load a token. I'm gonna copy this token. I'm not really worried about you all seeing this because this thing won't even exist shortly. And I'm going to move over to Ansible Tower, or what I've been calling the platform cluster. All right, I've just logged into Ansible Tower. This is the dashboard. This is pretty empty. You can see there's only one job template in here. And what I need to do is we need to create a token. And it looks like Roland already created one. So we can just look in here. And in this token, I can go ahead and show you how to make this, so it's really easy. Click Ansible Galaxy Automation Hub API token. So this says Automation Hub, Ansible Galaxy, but you just think of this as also Private Automation Hub. This is how we sync content, whether it be from Galaxy Automation Hub or a Private Automation Hub server. We just need a token. So we can go and let's just create a new one. We'll call this one I'll call it Sean's token, because you can actually have multiple Private Automation Hubs installed in there. I'm going to grab the URL. I already grabbed the token that you just saw. And we need this Galaxy server URL. So I can actually just grab this. I don't need to do fancy editing magic. I really just need the remote. So here, I can link to different pieces here, right? So I could have it only grab certified. So we can do that. And then we could put it in here, Red Hat certified, and then click save. Oops, and tie it to an organization. All right. Now to use that credential that we set up in organizations. So under organizations, right, there's credentials here. I need to grab a project. So I have a project right here. This is a fork of John Hardy, who's our product manager, where I just simplified what he had a little bit just for brevity of the demo. Is within the GitHub repo, there's a folder called collections. And this folder has a requirements YAML file. And this is it's literally YAML format, right? Key and then a list, key value. And we have two collections, the namespace Cisco and the collection as NXOS, which is a network operating system for Cisco Systems network platform. And then we have Google.cloud, which is a collection for Google's Google Compute Cloud, the GCP for public cloud. So two very different collections for two different types of personas. But now we want to load them. So what I'm going to do is this little fork repo. I don't even have to create a job template. I just need a project. So under project, I'm going to create a new project. I can name it Sean's test or whatever. Doesn't matter because it's just for this. Git. I'm going to take that Git URL and throw it into this SEM URL. It's already tied to default because this is a brand new Ansible platform cluster installation, so there's not much in it. There's no credential needed. This is not behind a login window, and I'm not using a Python and virtual environment, so I'm just using the default environment. So I'm going to click save. So this is really cool. As soon as I click save, it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but you can click the jobs window, and it's actually syncing that project to make sure that that project's synced locally. And because we had a requirements file within that GitHub repo, is it's actually going to go and install that repo. And you can see what's really cool is it's actually installing it from, not from Automation Hub, but because we set up that Galaxy for that organization, is it successfully has installed that into Ansible Tower from Private Automation Hub. So if I put a collection we didn't have an Automation Hub, it would fail. And what's really cool is I can actually have multiple ways to sync from different Private Automation Hubs. So even, well, say you could have multiple Private Automation Hubs. Is what I mean is I can add each of these as separate keys, right? Where it's community from Galaxy, published, meaning it's content we've created and are publishing, certified, which is stuff we've had from Automation Hub. So you wouldn't really use rejected and staging as often, I would think. I'm trying to think of use cases off the top of my head. But between these three, I can put them in order. So I could be like, I always want to use the collection from certified or published, then certified, then community. And you just put those in order under your organizations. So in here, when you add these, it's reading them in order. So if I added back and look back at Sean's token, is I could add both in order. And it's going to go literally from left to right, top to bottom, and load them in that order. And with that, Thank you for watching. I really appreciate everyone's time. We will be putting a lot more content on YouTube, so I appreciate it if you subscribe, youtube.com/Ansible Automation. And then I'm going to be here live to answer questions, so I will hand it off to future Sean.